Julie, perhaps most interesting about Tuesday night's 4-0 victory for the United States over Haiti is the fact that we got to see Vlatko Andonovski, the new U.S. Women's National Team head coach, roll out a starting 11 in a competitive match. The first time we've seen him do that. Here's a look at the 11 that Vlatko deployed against Haiti. You'll notice that back 8 is effectively the same back 8 that the U.S. Women's National Team used in the World Cup final against the Netherlands. The 3 changes are the 3 up top. Instead of Rapinoe, Morgan, and Heath across the front, you had Lynn Williams, Carli, Lloyd, and Kristen Press. Julie, what was your biggest takeaway from Vlatko Andonovski's first competitive 11 in charge of the U.S.?
Same formation, like you said, Sebi, right? And really no change outside of those front 3. And those front 3 were changed, I think, in large part due to necessity. Alex Morgan out with her pregnancy, of course, and then Tobin Heath and Megan Rapinoe both out because they're coming back to full fitness from injury. And you saw Megan Rapinoe coming off the bench, but she's not a full 90 fit. In fact, Megan Rapinoe was not training much in the January camp they had preceding these games. And I actually think that the lack of changes is a good thing, because I think you often see when new coaches come in that there is a tendency to put their stamp on the program and to say, I'm going to change things. I'm going to make it mine. I'm going to change formations. I'm going to change personnel. And clearly we saw a very good team this past summer, that won a World Cup, emphatically won a World Cup. And so I like that Vlatko has come in and said, I think this team is in great shape. Let's just refine little things to make it even better. And so you're seeing a lot of the same lineup, a lot of the same formation. I will say, Sebi, that I thought it was a disappointing team performance. I think they would agree to that in terms of only getting to Haiti into the 67th minute where they get their second goal. But overall, I like the approach that he's taking.
So Vlatko didn't make a lot of changes in his first 11. As this progresses, do you see room for changes, or do you think when we come to the big games in Tokyo at the Olympics, should the U.S. qualify, that it'll pretty much be what we saw in France?
Oh, there's always room for changes, of course. Always. I mean, and you constantly have to be looking at, okay, this next crop of players that's coming in. For example, an Andy Sullivan, what she could bring at 24 years old. And you also have to be looking at, and I know he is, Vlatko, with this aging core of players. Megan Rapinoe in her mid-30s. Carli Lloyd will have just turned 38 as she's going into this next Olympics. And he knows that these are players that probably can't go, of course, 90 minutes in every game in the Olympics. And what's that next wave of player that's going to come in and make an impact? And when you have a situation and an embarrassment of riches where your next 3 in line are Lynn Williams, Kristen Press, and Carli Lloyd sitting out for your front 3 that you had before, I mean, that's a great situation that he's sitting in. Obviously, they got to cut their roster down even more to 18, so they're going to lose 2 off of this 20-player roster, which is going to be a challenge in itself. But I think he's always got to be looking for different formation, different ways you can play, different players that can step in and really impact a game.
Let me ask you about Megan Rapinoe specifically. She'll be 35 at the Olympics. She didn't start last night, but was very impactful off the bench. 30 minutes, a couple assists. Let's say the U.S. gets to the Olympics and gets to those medal round games. Do you see Megan Rapinoe with any potential of not being a starter, of being used as a super sub?
I think it depends on the health of Megan Rapinoe. If Megan is healthy, she's starting, because we've seen what she can do to games. She is absolutely the most impactful player in terms of changing a game, getting in there, making an impact that they have on this roster. Outside, I would say next to her is Rose Lavelle in that situation. So if Megan Rapinoe is healthy at 35, absolutely I would put her as a starter. Whether as the tournament progresses, and as we saw at the World Cup this past summer, where she didn't play in a couple games, where she took a knock and then she can come back in. I mean, that's the beauty of a Rapinoe-like player, is, you know, even if they're coming off the bench and they're not fully fit, that you get them in there And Megan Rapinoe at 80% is better than most in the rest of the world.
So Megan Rapinoe didn't get the start against Haiti. We'll see if she breaks into the starting 11 in what's left of the group phase for the Americans. A quick reminder, they'll face Panama on Friday, then on Monday, Costa Rica. All that ahead of some key matchups in Carson, California, February 7th and February 9th. February 9th, the final. February 7th, the all-or-nothing semifinal. Win, you go to Tokyo. Lose, you miss out on the Olympics.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.